Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Looking for Love in All the Wrong Dust Jackets, a show where three disgruntled harpies talk to you about everything we love in romance, whether that's books, movies, TV shows, whatever we like. My name's Liz.
I'm Danny.
I'm Wiggles.
And welcome to the episode. Today we are talking about Funny Story by Emily Henry. But before we get into that, I have to warn you, I have to let the people know that we are crass, unhinged. We swear a whole hell of a lot.
Fuck yeah, we do.
And we talk about all of the naughty times. So if you're not into that, you've been warned.
So figure it out. Look at your life. Look at your choices. Have you even slept with this guy?
Have you even slept with this guy? So what have you guys been up to? Get me caught up in your lives. What's happening?
I read Shatter Me by Tahir Mafi, I believe is how you pronounce it. If I said it wrong, I apologize. You can butcher my last name if you ever find it out. Anyway, I don't know how I feel about it. I gave it a 3. It just felt like, it felt not necessarily like its own happy standalone book. It felt like it really needs the subsequent, like, I think there's like 8 novels in this series in order for it to make sense. So, I got this deal on Audible over the holidays that was like 3 for 1 credit. And so I got the first 3 in the series. So I'll report back when I'm done with the other 2.
That's great, because that's been on my TBR for a while. So I need to know what's happening.
Yeah. It wasn't bad. It also just, I don't know what's going on. So we'll see.
That's not a glowing review.
Liz.
Oh, yeah. I read ACOTAR. I read A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas.
And how do you feel about that?
I have so many thoughts and opinions. To be fair, I don't know if I would have this many thoughts and opinions if the world wasn't obsessed with them, the series. But I gave the first book 3.5 stars. I wrote a whole ass blog post about this. So go to our website, wrongdustjackets.com, to see. But just the highlights. The world is interesting. I could understand people would like it. I liked the cozy kind of fun bit in the middle where Feyre and Tamlin are just trying to get to know each other. Feyre sucks. She a dumb bitch. I'm sorry, she is. She's just Katniss but watered down.
Yeah.
Oh.
Tamlin got done dirty by the author. I feel like his character could have been interesting and then he wasn't. And Rhysand is the only one that has any sort of depth. Hot takes. That's what I said.
To be fair, I did tell you not to read it. And you said, no, I'm going to do it anyway. I also don't disagree with any of your takes.
I don't really see myself reading A Court in Mist and Fury, the next one, because I've seen the reviews. I know what happens to some of the relationships. And I'm like, no.
Fair enough.
And then I listened to Putting Out for a Hero by C. Rochelle, which is the 3rd book in her Villainous Things series, I think is what the series is called. It's the himbo one that we did the episode about. This one is about Balthazar, the middle brother, and I liked it. It was a 3.5 as well, because I think this series, I just expect so many unhinged things, and this feels like the tamest of them, which is weird to say because there's nodding in it, but yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm simultaneously intrigued and withdrawing at the same time.
But I did like it better than the second one, which is Gentlemen Prefer Villains, which is hard to say because I love Wolfgang, but I just cannot stand Simon. And I know a lot of people love him and that's fine, but it's just, it hasn't quite gotten to the first one yet. I want that Butch. Anyway, Danny?
So I had a fairly tame weekend. I played a lot of The Sims, and then I did start listening to 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater.
Ooh.
Which I believe is the second book from like Half a Soul, which we did a podcast episode on. Listen to it. It is a fabulous book. I think it's actually the first one that all three of us were like 5 stars.
I believe so.
So I'm partway through that and have been greatly enjoying it. I really didn't do much. I mostly played The Sims and I was dog sitting. Could I have been reading? Yes, but that involved effort.
Were you doing your 100 baby challenge?
No. I made myself a witch, made myself immortal, and then became a paranormal investigator.
All right.
That's what you really want in life, though. You know, like that's true goals
I
right
mean,
there.
The problem is I'm so lazy. Like
Yes.
if my real life, someone was like, you got to solve paranormal crimes. I'd be like, I don't know how to solve normal crimes. It sounds like a lot of work. Can you just give me a podcast that breaks it down? Thank
Yeah,
you.
but in The Sims, you also can you perfect your mediumship at your own house, and then you get a paranormal investigator's license. But when you perfect your mediumship, you can also then summon Bonita, and it's basically a skeleton that cleans your house.
Okay.
I do
All right, Danny.
love how weird The Sims is.
I love it so much.
The second you try to explain it out loud, you sound like an insane person.
I fucking
And
love
that's
the
what
cow
I love
plant.
about it.
I love the cow plant. I sent you a TikTok the other day of a
Yeah.
new challenge, and
Yeah.
Wiggles was definitely like, "Oh yeah, the second I'm done with my 100 baby challenge, that's a thing that we're gonna be doing."
I'll put the youngest baby in there.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah. I like it when one leads into the other.
Mm-hmm.
I would also, I've never completed it, but I'd like to do the princess challenge where you have to create your life as close to basically a Disney princess, but specific rules. So like Cinderella, right?
Yeah.
You have to constantly keep the house clean. It cannot get dirty.
Why is that fun?
I don't know. It
I-
just is.
I understand The Sims, but the only joy I get out of it is just making the houses.
See, and I don't want to make the houses. I'm like,
No, that's
live
not
it
my
up.
jam. I want it to already be made.
No.
And then
See,
occasionally I'll decorate it, but I get annoyed.
all I want to do is make the houses, which is why in games like Skyrim and other games where they come out with like the expansion where it's just make your house, I'm like, this is the greatest. This is
No.
all I want.
I hate it.
I love
No,
it.
I like creating Real Housewife level drama in my Sims lives.
oh fuck yeah!
God.
It's the best.
I don't give two shits about my Sims
No.
and Sims.
They're living like a whole wild life.
It's really wild when you're doing the 100 baby challenge, because then the men folk come around and you're like,
Sorry, I banged him now, your
I-
brother. So
I done fucked you and made a baby with you, so I'm done with you. But they keep coming around because
Yeah.
you have their children.
sometimes if they're nice ones, they help clean the house, and that's a real nice bonus.
It is.
If they're assholes, they tip over your garbage can.
Yep.
this is the level of drama I'm dealing with. But also, if you have babies nonstop, it extends your lifespan.
That's
so
not how that works in
my
real
first
life.
no. So my Sim's first love is past. She's very sad right now.
I've also had several of the men folk fight because I've bestowed another child on a new person, and then they had walked into my house like they own the fucking place.
The dream is if the aliens abduct my Sim and get her pregnant. That's the dream.
Oh,
so I keep
I
trying
fucking
to
love
find
that.
ways to make it happen and have that be part of my 100 baby challenge, and now suddenly just got a green baby.
Yep.
So let me tell you about this author.
Yeah.
So Emily Henry, if you go to her website and you click on her bio, it says exactly this, which is the same letter count as like a tweet. Emily Henry is the #1 New York Times and #1 Sunday Times bestselling author of Funny Story, Happy Place, Book Lovers, People We Meet on Vacation, and Beach Read. She lives and writes in the American Midwest. Wow. I don't know what to do with all of that information. But if you do go to her website, she has a newsletter, so that's something. And then she's got bonus content. If you read Beach Read, there's an epilogue called Layover, so check that out. She does have a facts and questions area where she talks about, are there going to be sequels? Right now, no sequels. Are there going to be television or movie adaptations? Yes. Beach Read, People We Meet on Vacation, and Book Lovers are all in development to be films, but that takes a long time. And then she's got some questions on here like, can you give me some writing tips? She responds. I'm not going to read it because she gives an actual response.
Oh.
And it's long. How do I get published? Again, she gives you a response and it's long, and so I'm not going to read it. So check it out. You know, she seems like she's not gatekeep girl boss. She's got an Instagram. So check that out.
Doesn't everybody these days?
I guess.
I mean, do I have one? Yes. Do I ever do anything on it? Not really. No.
But she also says she cannot read your unpublished manuscripts at this time. So don't be sending her your crazy monster tentacle porn, Danny.
I'm writing no such thing.
That's what you need to know about Emily Henry, according to her website. You need to know no more. None more.
I was going to say that was a really lively explanation of who Emily Henry is.
Right. Her website said, no more for you. She's a private lady.
The back of this book, or the inside of this book, says that she spends most of her time in Cincinnati. So we've narrowed down the Midwest to Ohio.
Ooh. Basically, we're best friends now from that information. I mean, she just shares. She's such an open book.
I thought you were going to say because we're so close, and I was going to be like, bitch, we're nowhere near Ohio.
No, I've done the drive to Ohio. It ain't fun.
That's my hot take, is what exactly are the boundaries of the Midwest? And we don't have the time for that conversation.
We don't have the time. We don't have the budget.
Right.
In this economy. So, Danny, what's this book about?
I have no fucking clue. No, I do. It's fine.
I should hope so.
This
is where you reveal that you
if this
actually
is the
read Happy
moment-
Place.
I will let you on fire. I'll put you out, but I'll let you on fire first.
You see Will slowly moving towards you with a fucking Bic lighter.
You said you actually read that you didn't read the wrong book, Danny.
God damn it. Can't take this pressure.
So I would love to tell you guys about this book. So this is about Daphne, who has just moved into she's lived there for about 2 months, I think, at this point. She's a librarian. She was engaged to a guy named Peter and found out fairly close to the wedding date that he said he can't do this anymore, and he runs away with his female best friend.
Like a bitch.
Like a bitch. And so she moves in with said female best friend's ex-fiancé because those fuckfaces ran away together, and then she had to be kicked out of the house that she didn't own, but it was supposed to be their house together. So she moved in with the female best friend's
boyfriend.
I thought they were engaged. I'm sorry.
No, Petra and Miles were not engaged.
Okay. Yeah. So she moves in with Miles. He is in his depression era. She is in her depression era. She is counting down the days until she can leave this town that she moved to be with Peter and everything. She loves the library she works for. She's a children's librarian, which is just fucking so cute. But she has a goal. She has a thing that she is counting down to. And then after that, she's planning on leaving. And she randomly, one day when Peter calls her, because Miles and her drunkenly RSVP'd to Petra and Peter's wedding. Mm-hmm. He called her one day and she bold-faced lied and said that her and Miles were dating. Miles thinks this is fucking hilarious. So he just kind of goes with it. But then they actually become really good friends. And they likes each other. That's real cute. Discuss.
Well, one thing I want to say from the jump is I thought they were actually going to go to the wedding in the book.
I wanted them to, but
right?
I was a little disappointed that there wasn't any wedding shenanigans, but
I thought that was going to be a core part of the book.
It wasn't.
It was not at all. I was like, oh, dang. Never mind, I guess.
I kind of like, though, that it didn't end up happening because it did take me to a place where I didn't see it going. I thought the wedding was going to be core shenanigans as well, and there was going to be a big scene at the wedding, blah blah blah, and as it turns out, Peter and Petra are dumbasses to the extreme and fucked up their entire lives.
Well, Miles I think explains it best. Peter he uses a specific term that I can't remember off the top of my head, but essentially he's like one of those people that the grass is greener on the other side. You know, it's not that anything is bad with Daphne and Peter's relationship, it's just that Peter sees a shiny thing over there and goes, maybe wants shiny thing. And that's just kind of the reason he decides to go be with Petra.
Well, and it's not that uncommon. This idea that but if I get in a commitment with this person, then I'm missing out on all the other shiny things that are out there. And it's grow up. Like, you either love them or you don't. Grow up. Like, it's a choice. It's a choice to stay in love with somebody. And if you aren't willing to make that choice, then don't put a ring on it, you fucking asshole.
I also kind of liked that instead of, so she's the girl best friend that, you know, he told her over and over again that she didn't have to, you know, be worried about or anything. And instead of making her just a complete asshole, which she is, but everybody fucking loves her. She's not the, like, talk behind your back bitch.
Well, yes, it's great that she wasn't like the stereotypical, like, bitchy woman. But I think the thing that really solidified Petra's character to me was actually when Daphne was defending Miles to him and being like, no, you don't understand. Yes, Petra is nice. Everybody loves Petra. She wants the best for everyone. But she also really fucked you over and kind of just kept you around in case Peter turned her down. Like, because Petra's the one that goes to Peter and says, hey, we should actually try being together. We've known each other for forever. Our families love each other. So she just keeps Miles around until Peter says, okay, as this second best backup boyfriend. And then out of nowhere just goes, peace, dude.
Well, and not even just that. One of the things that she talks about early on that I'm like, actually, it sounds like Petra's been an asshole the whole time. And she talks about how Petra openly bragged about having Miles pay for a whole bunch of shit. And when Daphne was having doubts of Peter paying for their entire house. And like, ooh, that doesn't sit right with me. Of like, I'm going to flex on the fact that I don't have to have my boyfriend pay for everything, but I sure do.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That, well, and there's also this thing with, you get the impression through most of the book, and it's because that's the impression that Daphne has gotten, is that their families are thrilled about it. Well, you come to find out after they break up that no, they weren't.
At least not Peter's.
At least not Peter's. They were really pissed about it, actually. And I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of telling a little bit, especially because, you know, this is a girl that they've known pretty much her entire life, and they're pissed because of what he did to Daphne.
Although, I mean, and we don't really get to know anything about them firsthand, so this is kind of judgy, but they do give off the vibe from the like little bit we know about them that it's more about that Peter embarrassed them rather than them being worried about Daphne.
Well, yeah, but still, I'm just like, okay, they weren't just down with what he did,
right?
Because what he did was terribly shitty.
Well, I think we should talk about that. That's a good place for us to really dig in, because the way the book opens, Daphne's telling us a little bit about how Peter loves to tell the story of how they met, and from her perspective, she's like, I must have looked like a fucking Muppet, just like being thrown around by the wind. I got trash in my hair, right? And when he tells the story, he romanticizes it. It's her hat flew down at my feet, and I took that as a sign to go talk to her. And she's like, and he always leaves off the part where then I also chased after it and fell into a metal trash can. So already we have this like information from the jump that maybe you're not on the same page with this guy.
Yeah, but it's also told in a way where it doesn't seem so black and white, because if you're going to tell a cute story about how you met, you're not going to tell the story about how she fell into a trash can,
right?
Right? Like that's not.
I mean,
not fun.
would. I'd be like, so there I was. This guy's fucking hot. I'm distracted. Trash can.
Right,
but
but
he still asked me out.
Well, it's one thing if you're telling it about yourself, but if he told it and was like, so there she was. Just fell right into the fucking trash can.
She just went right into the trash can.
Ramen noodles in her hair.
That's the one.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'd be like, okay, but like, he must love me, right?
And that's kind of what Daphne thought, though, too.
Right. There's a lot about how Daphne reacts to things that is relatable in this book. And wanting so much to have somebody who is stable and good for you and loves you unconditionally, so much that you don't see that they're not stable or good for you or in love with you unconditionally, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, he tries to change everything about her. Everything is about what he wants.
Yeah.
And about his, perspective in life. When she was describing their lives together, I was like, I want to pull my fucking hair out by that.
Literally,
Well,
I wouldn't have survived.
But that's the whole big realization she comes to, because she comes from a broken home. And even though she has a great relationship with her mother, they moved around all the time. So she just doesn't have people who are close to her. So then to be in a committed relationship with someone where that person always is doing, like, you're always doing things together, so much so that you lose yourself, and instead of being an individual, become part of, as Ashley calls it, a we.
Literally my greatest fear when it comes to dating and relationships. Won't lie.
Well, it's realistic. We know people that have done that.
Yeah. We watched it happen. And
Yeah.
we go, are you okay? If you start to become a conjoined twin, you have to tell us. I don't know what to do.
I hate to admit this, but I was that person a little bit when in like high school relationships. There's a very large reason why I do not do relationships at all now, because I don't love me in relationships anyway.
I don't know that you can really judge yourself by high school, though.
Well,
like, that's a different brain.
Yeah.
It
You
is
don't
a
got no
different
prefrontal cortex yet.
Well, even in college, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's, I think, when it happens a lot to people, is the high school to college, or like right after post-college time.
Well, that's when you're told you're supposed to meet the one.
It's also when you as a person are defining yourself. Right? So as you are defining yourself, you have another person who is defining themselves, and your relationship becomes so core to that definition of like your individual selves.
We definitely watched people of our group that have turned into wees, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, and so that's what we know of their relationship. Like, she paints this picture of we're perfect for each other, while to actually telling us, like, no, we're not.
No.
Right.
And so when we finally get to present day, she's talking about the situation she's currently in. She is laying on the couch waiting for him to come back from his bachelor party. And
Yeah, his fucking bachelor party before their wedding.
yes. But I think it's a couple of weeks before or something like that.
Yeah, because she makes a point to say that he's having his bachelor party now because he and his friends can afford to travel twice. They can travel once for the bachelor party and once for the wedding. But her and her friends do not have that kind of money, and they can only travel once. So her bachelorette party is going to be right before the wedding.
Yeah.
And that seems like, oh, that's just random information. But I think that is also used to be like, look at this divide. And we're just going to keep growing and showing you the divide throughout the entire book.
Right. And there seems to be no effort from the little bit we see, which is entirely from Daphne's perspective, to be fair. But there seems to be no effort on the part of Peter to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just either absorb into me and have my friends and do the activities I like to do, and, you know, you can live off of my income status, or, and the or isn't great. So
Well, even her best friend, who has been her best friend for a very long time at this point, is married to one of Peter's really good friends. And when all the shit went down, her best friend's response is, "We love you both." And I was like, oh, honey, this is not a we situation. This is I love you, honey. What can I do to help?
the only
Yeah.
thing I
Appropriate
could think
response.
in Sadie's defense is, does she fully know what happened? And if the first person to tell them what happened is Peter,
Which is what is in the book, right? Peter's the first one to tell them. Yeah.
the way she describes it is he got to them first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, ugh. But, you know, still, I understand the feeling frozen of like, I don't know if me reaching out is helpful or if it's just piling on in some ways because I'm making you face it and look at
Yeah.
it. I understand that like frozen moment of like, what do I do? But I can't imagine that lasting that long.
Right.
And this is months later in the book. They still haven't talked.
I can kind of understand it because there's almost like a time period after something happens to someone where if you haven't reached out to them, anytime after that feels like admitting the fact that you fucked up by not reaching out earlier. But I also understand because we do get Sadie later in the book when she finally shows up in the epilogue, I believe, or like right before it. Anyway, that's not the point. And she says from her perspective, Daphne just shut the world out And I understand that so much from Daphne's perspective, because like as somebody who moved around a few times when I was younger, exactly like she talks about it in the book, you shut off your past. Like you move to the new location, everything from your past is gone. And because it's too much to try to like keep up with friendships or especially when you're young.
Yeah.
From, however far away, people you're never going to see again. And then you just take that mentality into your adulthood of, well, I'm on to the next chapter. So we've closed the book and everything that was in the last chapter is gone.
I definitely get that.
Absolutely.
From the like moving around perspective, I didn't do that until obviously I was in my 20s. But I definitely got to a point where I was in a pattern of like, I can only sustain not in this like town, this new relationship for so long. And then it gets to a point where I literally don't know what's going on in your life because I'm not seeing you every day. And our relationship is a year old and it's hard to keep that going. It's the longer ones that I think are it's harder for me to understand. But I also get like once you've made that choice, it's hard. Like you get to a point where I don't know how to go back.
Yeah. Well, and like Daphne said, their relationship between Daphne and Sadie was the two of them in college and stuff. But then when Daphne got with Peter and Sadie got with whoever Peter's friend is, their relationship then got redefined to the four of us. And so then when the four of us ends, or at least Peter and Daphne ends, like you have to completely redefine it all over again.
Well, the other thing I think that's so well depicted is that fade of once you get to a certain threshold of, I don't know what's going on in this person's life. You also don't know what to call them to talk about.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I don't necessarily know how to broach the topic of, are you okay because this thing happened? But I also don't know, is your boss annoying? Did you get a new apartment? Are you really excited about your new pet? I don't know fucking any of that anymore. And so it's like, what do I call to say I'm calling to talk about?
Yeah.
It's tricky. It's really tricky. One thing I will say about this book is it did make me reflect on how I react to things. It was a little bit free therapy, won't lie.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, shit, bitch, don't be saying that so loud. People will hear you. And like one of them was, this is much later on in the book. We can come back to where we're at. But she's talking about, she's like freaking out because she bailed on Ashley. And we'll tell you about who Ashley is later. But she bails on her friend, right? While simultaneously losing her shit on somebody who bailed on her. And it's like, the reason you feel like that you're the worst person in the world is because you treat people who fail you like the worst person in the world. And I was like, I'm going to go hide. Don't know what to do with my hands.
Don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah. You can't hide from a book.
No. Speaking of Ashley, I would like to talk about Ashley. I love Ashley. She is the grumpy bit of sunshine in my life that I need. Oh, wait, that's Liz.
Hi. It's me. The problem is me. I don't quote T Swift that often, but when I do, I'm going to let you know.
Good job.
Thank you.
I'm quite proud.
Ashley is fairly recently divorced. It's been a year since she got divorced.
Oh, I got things to say about that, but we'll get back to it.
And she has a child whose name is Mulder, and I love that.
I kind of had Daphne's reaction to that of like, really?
That was me too. I was kind of like, you sure about that?
Sure about that.
I mean, would I do it? No. But, I liked it in the book.
Name your cat that then. Like, that's a good pet name.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why my cat's name is Aria.
Yeah.
But she is another librarian, and she cracks me up, and it very much was free therapy in multiple places when it came to Ashley, and I really enjoyed that.
Well, Ashley is like, that character easily could have been such like a simple two-dimensional, I'm the grumpy librarian who you get to be friends with and like is going to let you know that it's okay to be friends with people. And instead, she's pretty deep. There's like a lot of shit that goes on just with her character.
Yeah.
That's what I loved about her.
So this doesn't happen to me very often when I read a book, but I was mentally casting this book.
Oh.
And Ashley, for me, is a young Ashley Judd.
I could see it.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah.
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 Miles is, it's Luke Thompson or the other Luke that's Colin. Whichever one in Bridgerton is Colin, whichever Luke is the right Luke, that Luke is Miles.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Wiggles. Okay.
I just thought you need to know that. There's a couple more, but we haven't introduced those characters, so we'll wait.
What about Daphne?
Daphne, I really struggled with, but I think where I landed, I was like, there's this character, who I have not seen in anything since, but she was in oh God, what is it? The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Oh, okay.
And she's the annoying stepdaughter who becomes like a
Xanthippe.
yes, and I'm like an adult version of her.
Yep.
For sure. I can fully see it.
Xan grows
it was
up a lot
either
in
that
that
or
series.
she would be Julia. And I was like, I went back and forth. I think maybe Julia is better suited there. But I really had a hard time casting Daphne.
Fair
mentally.
enough.
I wasn't trying. She just wasn't popping up in my brain.
Also, the Luke you were thinking of is Luke Newton.
See, I knew I had the wrong Luke. I was just thinking about my boy, Benedict.
You just want everyone to be Benedict. God damn it.
Everyone can be Benedict. Cast him in all the things. Please and thank you.
Okay. So getting back to Ashley, I wanted to talk about her marriage because did it need to be so intense in the book? Probably not. Did I appreciate it? Yes. Because she explains to Daphne like why they ended it. And it feels like a representation of what Peter and Daphne could have been down the road, right? Which is her husband. I don't know why, but David keeps coming to mind. I don't think that's right. Ashley's husband. Ashley's ex. We'll just call him that. They got married because they had a one night stand. They had a kid. And so it was like, well, that's what you do. And then it was just, everything was about the kid, and their relationship never really grew into anything. And when she finally wanted to be, go to couples counseling and actually try to be in a relationship with each other in this marriage, he was just so apathetic to it.
It was because Mulder was now of an age where he has his own things going on.
Yeah.
It's not, he can't necessarily go out on his own, but he's old enough to, he's got friends and doing everything. So not everything in their relationship could be about their child at that point.
Yeah.
Duke. His name is Duke.
Duke.
I don't know why that suddenly popped, but you said the right thing. But also, Duke is the definition of weaponized incompetence. She's actively talks about she would put him through these tests, right? And like the thing is, her statement that I probably shouldn't do that to people, that's not fair, is true.
Yes.
But
very
also
true.
Some of the things she's talking about testing him on are how long will it take for him to do the laundry if I don't do it?
Yeah.
How long will it take for him to set up something for us to do outside the house if I don't do it?
How long can we sit in a room together until he actually looks at me?
Right.
And that one was sad.
That was very sad.
Yeah.
And, there's this big conversation, one too big for us to cover on our podcast, but there's a big conversation about these guys who find themselves in divorce and are fucking surprised. And it's like, well, okay, when was the last time you put in effort for her? And if you don't have something that is immediately on the tip of your tongue, you're failing,
Well,
because she's doing so much for you.
We shouldn't just say guys on that point. People in a relationship.
Sure,
Because that can definitely swing both ways.
it can, but there's certainly a tendency.
Yeah.
One gender is raised to take care of people, and one is not. And so if you don't have that training, if you will, which sounds kind of gross but also true, do you have the instinct to care for somebody without prodding?
Yeah, when we were reading the big conversation where Ashley's describing her divorce with Duke, all I could hear in my head is all of the TikTok videos I've listened to of people talking about, well, this is why we got a divorce and they didn't see it coming, or this is the problems and I don't know how to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what this book is about, but it was just such a powerful thing that I had to talk about it.
I really actually enjoyed that conversation that they had together about this, because she's, explaining a little bit of why she got blown off one time and just was willing to write Daphne off completely. Now, was it cool for Daphne to blow her off? No. But her father showed up, and it wasn't just a Miles thing. It was her dad showed up and then blew up her life again, because he's a fuckface. And it's just, well, I shouldn't say that. There's a spectrum on his part. I still don't like him a ton, but
the relationship's complicated.
yes,
Yeah,
very. But she was just completely willing to write Daphne off completely.
I guess I didn't read it that way. I read it like someone having a completely normal reaction to being treated like they didn't matter. And so what I saw out of Ashley's reaction to that was a need for you to show that that's not true.
Yeah.
I didn't see her writing her off completely. I guess to me that was like, okay, if you want to be back in my good graces, you have to earn it. You don't get to just say I'm sorry, because I'm sorry kind of doesn't mean anything if it's just a couple of words you string together as a reaction to messing up.
I'm sorry doesn't work if you don't change the behavior.
and I think that's another really deep thing here is what Ashley's describing is the fact that she's coming into a new relationship or a new friendship with Daphne with her previous baggage coloring that.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens. That's going to happen, especially you start getting into 20s, 30s. It's going to happen with everybody you interact with.
Yep.
And the thing I think that's different than if like they were in their teens or 20s, even though you have all the stupid hormones and emotions of those times, is usually you explain maybe once and you can say, I'm sorry, this is what happened and won't happen again. And it's like, okay, you did strike one. Let's see, let's get back together as friends and move on. And if it happens again, then maybe it's a problem. But because Ashley is coming into it with all this baggage of, I don't want to be like, as soon as you show me one time that you're going to fuck up, I'm done. And she literally says that. You showed me once and that's it. And that's another big theme in this book is all these people have their own personal traumas or baggage or whatever, and it's them overcoming them, or not even necessarily overcoming them in a big way, but just like, how do we exist when we all have these like pieces of ourselves that either conflict or color the way we interact with each other?
Yeah. And I think if you're dealing with people that you actually care about, you have to have forgiveness written into that relationship, or you are just acquaintances. Like, that's just what it is. If you can't look at somebody who does something, whether big or small, that drives you crazy and go, you know what, I forgive it, it's fine, then you don't have a friendship. You don't have a romantic relationship. What you have is two people tolerating each other at best. And that, I think, is like a running theme through it as well, is that, are you actually caring for and being cared by the people in your life, or are you putting on a really good show? And who's it for?
I will say I absolutely do love how her apology kind of goes, and that Ashley had invited her to poker night. She had done the poker night and everything, and then when she fucked up, it was like a couple of weeks, I think, and she was trying to figure out how to make it up to Ashley, and so she basically had their boss, call an emergency poker night. Not an emergency, but like, oh, we're gonna play on this day, blah blah blah, and then broke into Ashley's house and started painting her bedroom.
That seems a bit dramatic.
I laughed my ass off.
When, like, you could have just said, hey, I
fucked up.
Do you want to get together on this day and we'll do the thing?
I don't think Daphne is very good at talking about the emotions.
I don't think any of them are.
That's another big thing.
No one
Nobody
in
is.
this book is good at the emotion talking.
Nope.
No.
I mean, I can't criticize too much because sames, but
I mean, I'm not saying that what Daphne did makes no sense. I'm just saying that's like a 3-year relationship, maybe 4-year relationship, friendship move,
Sure.
not a 5 months.
I would do that to you guys.
Yeah. You know
Wiggles,
why?
I broke into your house.
Because
and
we
paid
haven't
your
known
rent.
each other for 5 months, Danny.
Known each other for over a decade.
Close to 2.
Yeah.
Oh God,
Yeah.
Wiggles.
Yeah.
That hurt.
We're already crossed that point.
Yeah, I know.
Yo.
Okay.
I'm in a weird mood. I don't want.
One of the things though about Ashley and Daphne's relationship that's really big is that you almost need, when you're in trauma recovery, somebody else who has something similar to relate to. It's almost like if you have a friend who's happy when you're going through the shit, you're like, I want you to be happy, but also I need someone to join me in the misery party. And Ashley does a really good job of that, especially given what Petra and Peter put Daphne and Miles through. She doesn't like let them have their pity party for too long, but she also is like, I get it.
Yeah.
That's some fuck shit.
You can have a pity party for a little bit,
And then
no.
and then we're going out.
Yeah.
We're going out tonight. Taylor Swift #2.
Or Rent.
Yeah, but I sang it specifically the way that she says it in her song.
Oh.
I didn't sing it the Rent way.
So anyway, getting back to the book. So, you know, we didn't quite wrap up what happens with Petra and Peter. And I think for me, I don't know that this book would have been as good if they just told us that Petra and Peter got together and their lives were like upheaved. I think I needed to see that moment of her chucking Jordan almonds at the car as they drove away.
That description of it made me so happy. Like, it was so sad, but at the same time, I'm like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
I was like, make
also-
it hail, bitch.
That's kind of what I was thinking too.
Yeah, because Peter, obviously there's not a nice way to say, hey, I'm breaking up with you 3 months or whatever before our fucking wedding for the person I told you I would never be with.
Yeah, the person I told you was not a problem.
Yeah. But then his way of saying we're done is to say, I'm going to go with Petra and we're going to be gone for a week because that should give you some time.
Oh my God. I would have lost my ever-loving shit.
But I'm like, what do you mean time? Time to move out of the house that she lives in, that she thought she was going to live in for the rest of her life.
I literally, like, one of my favorite things about the book throughout is this running theme of like, nice doesn't equal good.
Right.
And it's like her distrust of nice people, I relate to so much.
Same.
When she's like, oh, you know, there's something about nice people that I'm just like, no. I'm like, yes, that is like, if somebody is nice to me, I'm immediately like, I don't know about that.
We're just saying something because we live in the Midwest.
Well,
Wow. I don't like a lot of people, Danny, so.
That's true. By the way, nice doesn't equal good. I literally have nice is different than good tattooed on the back of my neck.
I knew I got it from somewhere.
she also Daphne talks about it with Miles as well, because Miles is so charming. Everybody loves Miles, which is in kind of direct opposition of Petra, who is also so charming and so nice, but Miles is actually genuine. But of course, Daphne doesn't know that right away, and she's like, he's too charming. Why? And in my head, I'm like, yeah, people like that have secrets.
Yeah.
They cannot be trusted.
You know, how many serial killer dramas have we watched where there's always that one neighbor who is like, he was such a nice guy.
So many.
So many.
Yeah. So I also do not trust people who are too nice or too charming.
Yeah.
Or too familiar. God, I hate it when people are just like overly familiar with me when they don't know me yet. And I'm like, what is your game, man? Go
She describes
away.
Petra that way a little bit.
Yeah.
She talks about how she's the type of person who would like grab your elbow when she's laughing and like make you feel connected that way, or like she's the type of person you would meet in the bathroom and would share her lip gloss and then make you take it because it looks better on you, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is the exact type of person that immediately sets off red flags to me, because I'm
Same.
like, what are you covering?
Right.
Like, you do know that the whole world is shit. And you're out here being like, oh, everything's fine and I'm fun and it's great. Like, who are you think you're fooling? And that's my reaction, is like, what lies are you telling to cover for bigger ones?
It's my reaction too as well. And I think part of that is because she is the person who would walk up and like barely know you but laughs and touches you,
Do not touch me.
do not touch me.
No, we're not friends. And even my friends don't touch me that much.
I was
Please
going to
stop.
say, I'm an extremely touch-averse person. You guys usually ask permission before actually physically touching me. Like, there is very little touching that happens. I'm like, go away. No touchy.
Mm-hmm.
Which also stemmed, I think, a little bit from when I was pregnant, when an old lady at the restaurant touched my belly.
I will never be pregnant. But if I was, every single person that touched me without my permission, because at that point, pregnancy hormones, man, who knows what's going to happen? They'd probably be dead.
There's no way I'm not slapping that hand away. I don't care what polite convention says. Like, you don't have an invitation to touch my body ever.
I just stepped
Let alone
away.
when I've got another human.
Yeah.
But
cooking.
my friend walked up and she goes, you should have walked up and set your hand on her belly and go, is this awkward for you? Because it still is for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, don't touch me.
So PSA, don't touch people.
Yeah.
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 Pregnant or not, don't touch them unless you have permission, consent. Do not
Consent
touch.
is sexy.
Consent is sexy.
Consent is sexy. Okay, so we finally started talking about Miles, who is the fucking male main character. So let's talk about him and how he and Daphne get together. So Peter says, hey, Daphne, you got a week to get the fuck out. He doesn't say it like that, but that's how I interpret it.
It's every bit as much of a prick move.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's worse because it's Daphne. I'm so sorry, but I'll be back in a week. So if you could get your stuff moved out.
Be gone.
Yeah.
When people talk calmly to me while they're saying bullshit, it just makes me want to light them on fire more.
I just want to punch him in the throat.
Yeah.
So Miles shows up at the house looking for Petra, being like, is she here? She wasn't. Well, she was, and then she was gone.
Yeah.
And
She left him a note. She didn't even have the balls to talk to him.
right? That was barely addressed, that all she did was leave him a note.
Yeah.
What a cunt.
Yeah.
Petra is not a good person.
No.
Like, he keeps talking about her, like, and I guess that's because he's still kind of in love with her, especially at the beginning. But, like, he has this idea that she actually is a good person and she just made a really shitty choice this one time. And it's like, the more he describes it, it's like when you have that friend who's like talking about their childhood and you're like, remember when that was a thing? And everyone's like, no.
It very much gives Linda, I just realized I had a bad childhood. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know. Yeah. Like, that relationship was not healthy
No.
at all. And I feel so bad for him because he like rushes in and is like, where's my lady? And she's like, bro, I got some
No.
bad news for you.
I made it Hale Jordan almonds.
And then immediately is like, you have an opening in your apartment, right?
Yeah.
Can I move in with you?
Which, it's hasty, but also solves the problem.
Mm-hmm. You know, I can see it. It makes sense to me. Like, you at least
Yeah.
know this person a little bit, but also where she's got a good point. Where is she going to go? She invested all of her money into the house. Like, what, like furniture for the house, not like the actual purchasing of the property. So,
And wedding shit.
and wedding shit. So, like, where is she going to go that she can afford, honestly?
And where are you going to find in a week?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
shittiest thing. A fucking week. Like, fuck
Fuck
you.
that guy.
It's not like, oh, my mom lives here. My family lives here. I have my best friend here. People that I could actually go stay with.
No, he made her move from her home that she knew to go live in Michigan,
Yeah.
and is like, well, you know, you have a week out of respect.
Fuck your respect and fuck you.
Honestly,
Especially because his parents live there.
yeah,
And so do Petra's parents. So it'd be so much easier for them to go move in with one of them in their giant fucking rich bitch houses. Because, oh, by the way, Peter and Petra's family are rich bitches.
They're loaded.
And,
Stay there like at least a month. Fuck you.
right.
right. Like, you guys are the ones fucking people over, and you're acting like it's a real inconvenience for you still being in this house.
Yeah.
Moments after we fucked up your life. If you could work on that, that would be great, Daphne. That would just be such a help. And so when they move in together, Miles and Daphne, Miles is going through it. He's grown a depression beard. He is smoking weed left, right, and center from what it sounds like.
Yeah.
and depresso watching the first like 10 minutes of Bridget Jones' Diary over and over again. I did love that where she was like, turn down the music. And he's like, they're not playing any music. And she's like, bro.
What are you doing?
It's a movie. And it's like, that doesn't make it better.
No.
I love that she sees what it is and she's like, that scene lasts like a minute. What are you have this on repeat?
I do love the running gag throughout the entire book that Miles loves his sad songs.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's just depression central.
And
songs.
it doesn't go away once he gets happy. He's still listening to sad shit at the very end. He's listening to like Adele. And it's a fun little fact of his.
And he's like infecting the people around him with
Yes.
it too. Because like eventually Daphne is like, while she's doing the paint treatment in Ashley's house, she's got his sad song playlist going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also so every time Peter talks about Miles, he is just so fucking insulting. And I wanted to throat punch him. He's always like, oh, he's a handyman or he does odd jobs. And it's like, he works at a fucking brewery. There is nothing shameful.
He works at a winery.
Winery. Like, he works at a winery and clearly does a lot for them. I never like really narrowed down in my mind, is he a bartender there or is he, I think he has to be some sort of management there.
Well, at the very least, he is a bartender because we do get several scenes where he is bartending. But he also says that he does a lot of the sourcing for the kitchen. So doing the local sourcing of food and stuff. So, and he also seems really proud of everything they're doing at the winery, which usually means that he's probably been there longer and like he's emotionally invested.
Mm-hmm. Also, you can make bank if you're a good bartender.
Yes, you fucking can. Especially because they kind of describe this as like a bit of a tourist town, like in the summers.
And if they have great like locally made wines and stuff, I bet he makes bank.
Yeah.
Is it a sommelier? Sommelier.
I know how to pronounce it every other time, but you said it that one time and it fucked my brain. Sommelier.
That's what I'm here for.
Yes.
It also tried to fuck my brain, but I powered through it.
Yeah.
My brain likes to fuck itself up all the time.
So I believe technically to be a sommelier, you do have to have the certification to technically be called that.
Yes.
But he does talk about the wine as if he is one. So
That's true. He made me want to drink wine. And I was like, bro, I'm not really drinking wine at this stage in my life right now. But now I want to go out and buy some wine.
He made me want to go to like one of the wineries we have in town.
Yeah.
I was reading it and I was like, well, they are open on Sundays.
Right?
I did not have that effect, but I do not drink wine because it gives me insta headache.
Because of the tannins.
Yeah, it does that to people.
Yeah. You gotta get
white
on the
wine,
white wine train.
Yeah, I can do white wine. The only white wine I like though is like the Moscatos.
I did agree with what he said, where the reason people don't like Chardonnay is because they have bad Chardonnay.
Yeah.
If you have a good Chardonnay, that shit is bomb.
Chardonnay is one of my favorite like types of wine. That's kind of my go-to.
Pinot, not my thing though. I don't know why.
Pinot Noir or Pinot Grigio.
Grigio.
It's usually a little bit sweeter. Maybe that's why.
I am a dry bitch.
See, and I'm a sweet bitch. Hence Moscato.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Miles does kind of like get a bad rap from Peter from the beginning, and you can tell that even though Daphne has obviously had to form an unsteady alliance with Miles, she still kind of is carrying some of that bullshit in with her.
Daphne has a skewed version of Miles, and he's not doing a lot to change that, considering he's just smoking up left, right, and center, as you said, in the apartment.
Which, let's be honest, he's not trying to impress her at this point. He's just in his little depression fog.
He sticks his head out the window when he smokes.
I mean, yeah.
Obviously, it's not doing much.
Yeah.
I mean, at least he's considerate enough to do that. But yeah.
And he changes his behavior the instant she says something about it.
Yeah. I do like that even when they're both like still majorly in depression mode, you can tell that there's a little bit of a spark there. You're
Yeah.
like,
Well, especially because like the first time that they really spend any time together, they go out and get drunk because they're both depressed. That's what you do when you get drunk or when you get broken up with. You go get drunk.
Yeah.
With whoever's there.
Gil, apparently.
Gil.
I loved the perpetual callbacks
Of Gil.
of Gil.
Yes.
See, here's the thing. I've met a few Gils in my life. And
Same.
I felt that it was an accurate depiction because they're always like, if you caught them on the wrong day, you're convinced that they would be violent and hurt you and like mug you. But you caught them on the good day, so they're going to tell you about this kitten they found on the side of the road that's now their best buddy. And you're like, okay. Classic Gil.
Classic Gil.
Yeah.
And also, I guess, classic plot point. Hey, you got drunk and you made a dumb idea, which is to RSVP to your ex-fiance's new wedding.
Well, because that was the whole catalyst for them going out and getting drunk is she came home. He'd already been drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because these fucking jackasses invited them to the wedding.
Oh, but no, it's just Petra being nice. And I'm like, nah, that bitch ain't being nice.
No, that bitch ain't being nice.
And the wedding is only a month after when it would have been Daphne and Peter's wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're moving fast. They're trucking. And it's just like, what the fuck?
Listen, I know Peter and Petra have known each other basically their whole lives. Mm-hmm. And so their relationship probably would move fast, but you probably should take just a little bit of time, just a teensy bit of time to see if you're actually romantically compatible before going, let's get married, tie the knot, bind ourselves together.
And there is a vast difference between a friendship and a relationship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that I am fabulous friends with that fuck no. I would not be able to date with them.
What the? Why you gotta tell me like this?
Well,
break my heart.
Oh,
it was bound to come out
you.
sometime.
Your husband, yes. You, no, we might be friends.
Ow, 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 ow.
We would be very good because we'd be like, okay, I need you to fuck off for like 2 hours.
Like I said, I want that barefoot Contessa life. And why I don't understand why people aren't signing up for that with me, because I'd be so good at it. I'll make you a dessert that's like entirely butter and like a 4-course meal whenever you come home, and then send you off. I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do that once a week.
Once a week.
Yes.
Just saying, she does make really good cheesecake.
All I could think.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember giving you cheesecake.
It was tequila day. There would be a reason why you don't remember that.
Oh. I mean, I do, but thank you.
All I could think when you were describing this this dessert that was made like mostly with butter is, oh, so you're just going to slowly kill him by giving him a heart attack and increasing his cholesterol.
How
We
the
have
hell else am I
very
supposed to
different
get
thoughts.
wealthy, Liz?
It's true.
Yeah, I'm not. You do whatever you want, man.
You
Like,
do, boo.
butter
his
is an
choice to eat it.
undetectable poison. That's all I'm saying.
Start cooking with lard.
It just
Yeah.
takes
Beef
a long
tallow.
time.
Yeah, I'm in for the long con.
I get you.
Yeah, so it's shocking to me that there aren't men signing up for that. You know what I'm saying? Here's the thing about that I think's the shittiest. It's not just the like, we're going to do this to pretend to be nice. It's the full knowledge that it's not fucking nice, and no one is going to know that you didn't invite them.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to prove that you are nice. You're the bigger person. I'm going to invite them anyway. Like, you literally, this is the kind of shit where I don't know how to react in a rational way. And I just...
It's the same thing with when they're at the party. And so they go to this like event thing that Miles had tickets for, and Petra and Peter show up. He assumed she wouldn't show up. He had originally bought the tickets. He had the tickets and they showed up. And Petra had to like be all up in Daphne's grill and like touching her elbow and talking to her and everything. It's like, bitch, you are not my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Again, don't touch me.
Mm-hmm.
And also saying things that seem nice but are not. Like, oh, Daphne, I love this dress. It's so different than what you normally wear.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck you, bitch.
You're
Fuck you.
normally so buttoned up.
Yes.
And
You
it was the
normally
dress that she wore to her engagement party,
Yeah.
which you know full well Petra knows.
Yeah, because Petra would have been there.
Yep.
What a C word.
Yep. Since when do we censor ourselves? What a cunt.
I don't know. I'm back in the flow of, it's not my favorite word.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, so like the other thing that makes sense with the way that Miles and Daphne find themselves in this drunken situation where they've RSVP'd is that honestly, it would have been a really great revenge. They wouldn't have to even do anything to like spoil it. Just them being there would rub them wrong.
Oh God, just sit there and quietly and be polite.
Yeah, and get them the toaster.
Yeah.
Get them the toaster. And you this is from Miles and me.
Mm-hmm.
And then in a secret little note, you go and put it in the bathtub.
The best is then Peter calls Daphne the next day and is like, "Oh, we won't be upset if you don't want to come."
Oh no, I want to come. I
Yeah.
want to come. You invited me. I'm so
It's
so
like, well,
down.
you don't have a plus
love
one.
weddings.
Oh, well, that's okay. My plus one also has an invitation.
I'm coming with my boyfriend.
Yeah.
And I could totally see myself in that situation, just being like, feeling the need to one up whoever I'm talking to, and definitely get to the point of being like, yeah, I'm dating Miles now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I would have done it too.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. She was so convinced that Miles was going to be upset, and I was like, no,
No.
that man knows what's up.
That man's going to laugh his
He's-
ass off.
He's going
And
to
he
be on
did.
board, and he's going to contribute. And he did.
He did. Man delivered.
Yeah. He showed up, and he said, I can play this game.
Mm-hmm.
And he's really good at the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because the next time anyone sees either of them, they're making out at a lemonade stand.
Well, no, she ran into Peter first, and then she just like walked up and I love this moment of she comes in like she's gonna do it and says, "Can I kiss you?" He says yes, and they just go for it.
Well, they fuck it up first.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that she's like, "It's the worst kiss ever."
I know. Well, and I can fully picture it too. Like he's trying to do this like little peck, and she's like, "Ah, we're going in." So she's like biting his mouth, and he's like, "Ah, yeah." I can see it. I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Well described. Congrats, Emily Henry, on that one. Thank you for that.
And
Well,
then
especially because they've never done it before. That first kiss is awkward as shit.
Under normal circumstances.
Yes.
Like, don't ever make me think that the first kiss isn't always just a little weird.
I think
Well-
that people convince themselves that they have love at first sight if the first kiss is good. And I was like, that's
No.
not, that's just you got lucky.
Yeah.
The flow was flowing.
And up until that point, there had been a lot of tension between Miles and Daphne. Slowly but surely.
They're building a cute friendship.
They are. One of the things that I like about this book, doing the fake dating thing, is instead of doing it the way it's seen a lot, which is, okay, now we have to tell everybody we're fake dating, which I also love those as well. Well, that we're dating. Is in this one, they just told everybody the truth except Petra and Peter.
Yeah.
And then like a couple people that know them. Like Ashley, she tells Ashley right away. And she's like, that's fucking funny.
Right.
Yeah. She's like, nah, it's not a thing. We fucked up. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also like the moments of discovery. They're not really forced. They're almost always choice. So like the kiss that like suddenly starts getting hotter and they're like, oh my God. And then suddenly I'm like pressed up against the vehicle and this is getting dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? Like
This is crossing some lines.
right. It's not like that we have to force ourselves to pretend we really like this situation. I mean, it starts off where they're like definitely trying to put on a show,
Yeah.
but neither one of them is like, wow, I really don't want to kiss this person and are forcing themselves to do it. I always find that a little uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I went back and I was reliving that moment. It was nice.
It was very nice.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get iced because not much happens for a while.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like, whoa, that was hot, and that's a problem.
Which makes sense. They're
Yeah.
in this like really not unique, but like they're in a very specific situation where if things go wrong, if they try to like, oh, let's just fool around a little, it could end so bad.
Right.
I also love that there's the lovely cock block of his sister.
Oh yeah. So they eventually are starting to do it. They're
Yeah.
like making out
are.
on the couch and it's hot.
He's
And-
got hand down the pants.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's happening.
Yeah.
We're finally getting it.
Yeah, I was so excited, and then the phone calls, and I'm like, fuck you, respectfully.
Yeah. And that's when Julie shows up. Miles' sister, who gives us a really wonderful insight to Miles because I don't think Daphne would have ever gotten it without her. And we get to learn things like, oh yeah, Miles is super charming and, you know, he doesn't cause conflict or get in a lot of conflict with people. And that's because he avoids conflict like the plague because he also has trauma.
Lots.
Lots of trauma.
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't like he was gonna share that,
No.
Yeah.
right? Who is like, hey, basically stranger that I am now living with under odd circumstances, but I also find super fucking hot. Would you like to hear about how my mom is the worst?
Right.
Right.
You know, it's just not the first thing that comes up in conversation, or the 20th.
You usually don't get to it for a while.
Yeah, that's a later on conversation.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they're both have this. We only obviously get to see Daphne's perspective of all of it, and then we get told by Miles and Julia what like their childhood was. But they're both again dealing with family trauma,
Yeah.
and are able to connect somewhat in that way. And the thing is, I think that they, in their own ways, they both have forgiven their parents too much and too little.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've either turned, they only know how to view their parents as either monsters or saints, right?
Mhm.
And so they can't view them as human, which is a running theme throughout the whole book, is like,
Yeah.
people are people. They're not always going to do right.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference between somebody choosing to do you harm and somebody neglecting you and somebody accidentally doing you harm. And that they don't, neither one of them has a really strong sense of where those lines blur
Mm-hmm.
and where
Yeah.
and where the cutoff is. And so, yeah, like listening to them talk to each other about some of these things, I'm like, you know, a lot of that was less okay than even you talk about in the book.
Mhm.
Yeah. Especially Miles, because we only get like a
Yes.
little insight to what happened to him and Julia, which is essentially that their mom treated them almost like objects
Mm-hmm.
in her life of do this, say this, do not make me upset, or else I'm going to use my emotions to manipulate you and control you.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point where Miles doesn't like to make anybody upset or be in any situation that would be upsetting, because his trauma is that his mother would then freak out because he's not being perfect or doing exactly what she wants.
Well, you know what this immediately conjured in my mind? I'm glad my mom is dead.
Yep, sure does, doesn't it?
I just like immediately went to that, and like some of the ways that Jeanette McCurdy describes the way her mom would act and the way her dad would react to
Yep.
that, it just was like, oh no.
I haven't read it yet.
It's
It's a plan.
hard read.
Mm-hmm.
Hard read.
That is one I think I will be actually reading and not audiobooking.
To be fair, Jeanette McCurdy does read the audiobook.
Mm-hmm. And does a really good job with
Yeah.
it. You get a really strong sense of how much she's had to detach from it, even as she's telling you the story of
Yeah.
her own fucking life. But anyway, back to this book. Yeah, and what I think that the author does a really good job of describing is the way that you spend so much time masking your own trauma that you find new ways to hurt other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's what they end up doing to each other in
Yes.
various ways. Like one of the lines that stuck out to me so much at the end, not the end, but close. Miles asks her, like, how do you know, he says, do you know how often you do that? She says, do what? And he says, act like my opinion doesn't matter to you. My jaw drops. Of course it matters. Everything I say, he replies, it's like, oh, of course you'd say that, Miles. You're just so nice. Or you don't get it because you, or my new favorite, you're just like my asshole dad. And that one I had to like really sit with because I
Yeah.
was like, oh, but I do dismiss when people are nice to me. I was like, ooh, don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah, there was a lot of therapy in this book that I was like, hey, talk
Right?
quieter, please.
Well, because then we get to after the drunken night, and even before Julia shows up, because this is where the original kiss happens, is Miles is like, Daphne breaks down and tells him that after the readathon, which she's been planning for forever, which is in August, she is leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And Miles is like, hold on, that's fine, that's your plan, but you don't need to hide away in this apartment. We can go enjoy this town, which you maybe haven't had a chance to enjoy because of the way you lived with Peter. Let's go do all sorts of shit together. Let's just be friends and have fun. And
that is one thing that I just really loved about that, is you get to watch the progression of their friendship, because now they have their Sunday thing and they're gonna go do something new together or do something fun together. And so they, you know, go to different places and have dinner. They go kayaking, which was a hilarious experience to me. I love when he was like, okay, if you say Peter's name once, I am dumping your ass over in this kayak. And I was like, oh, she's going to get her ass dumped. And she did at the very end of it.
To be fair, she didn't say that Peter.
She's like, no, I meant a different Peter.
He's like, it's too late. I'm already tipping you.
yeah, it's already happening.
Bye.
And then she dumped his ass in the lake too. And I'm like, and that's fun, cute little happy moments of they were having fun together, even though she felt horrible while kayaking, because she's like, I can't keep up with him. He's so much better at this kind of shit than me. And which is saying something, because I don't know. I am a really not physically fit person, and I am fabulous at kayaking.
It takes a lot of upper arm strength. And so if you don't lift things, it's not going, like, you're not going to be able to waltz into that.
Oh,
I
don't have much upper arm strength that I'm good at kayaking.
I bet you have more than you think you do. A lot. There are genuinely people in this world who lifting 50 pounds is like impossible. And if you can't do that, you will find kayaking tires out your arms like that, because it's just like, oh, I don't have the muscles for this. You wouldn't think that just tilting a paddle back and forth would be that fucking hard. It is.
I will say I do live on the 3rd floor of a building, and I will break my arms before I make 2 trips.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, my guess is Daphne has not really had to lift any, like ever.
Which is strange to me as a librarian.
Yeah.
But you got those little carts.
That's true.
You know?
I have somehow landed on librarian TikTok, and I am really not upset about it.
No. Well, okay. So let's talk a little bit more about Miles and Daphne, because the other element that they have going on is the fact that they're roommates, and it would be so easy for that to be just something that like falls into the background, but often we get these like reminders that it's like, oh, Julia showed up and I went out to go get groceries because we have nothing in the fucking house.
Yeah.
Like things like that. And so they're growing together in a very different dynamic than most couples would, or even most friends would, because they're doing it under close quarters at all times.
I loved that too. When he went to go pick her up at the airport, she's like, well, I better fucking clean this place. And then she's like, shit, we have no damn food.
Right.
Which then Julia opened the fridge when she got there, and she's like, you have food. Look at you.
He's like, we do?
And he's like, yeah.
Yeah. I think the other thing that was really interesting about like them being roommates is then when they were actually dating, when they've given in and we're together now, is you get a lot of really sweet romantic moments of them making dinner together and all this stuff, which again, like, yeah, you can go to your significant other's house and make dinner, and maybe you stay, maybe you don't, but the fact that they're living together just really colored those scenes to me of like, and then we go home together to make dinner together, to watch a movie on the couch together, to go to bed together.
Right.
And it's like, you've known each other for a few months.
Yeah. Well, and technically that isn't even when they are like, we're together, because that only happens for like a hot second.
That's true.
The rest of the time is them going, no, we're not together, but oh, he touched me. Oh my God.
But yet we're doing all of these things as if we are a couple living together.
Yes. Yeah. I will say it did make the tension real big by the time we finally get to the breaking point.
Yeah.
Which was really hot.
It was.
I loved the bit where she was like, you don't have, she's upset because she feels like he only wants to like kiss her when he's performing for Petra or something like that, right? And he's like, oh no, I want to kiss you literally all the time.
Yes.
I don't think you understand, ma'am. I would like to be kissing you now. I would like to be kissing you in the future. And the amount of times I wanted to kiss you in the past are hard to count. So kissing?
Kissing. So let's do that now. But yet they continue to like do the start stop because they're roommates.
That car pullover, I was like, ah!
And they were roommates.
And they're roommates.
The internal, like, 36-year-old in my brain was like, you can go home, though, and you have beds.
Well, they do, and then they still fuck in the kitchen.
Yeah, they still were like, not for us. Nay.
Let's go on the kitchen floor.
I mean, if it works, it works, The
other big cock block, though, that comes in is when her dad and Starfire show up.
Out of the blue,
which apparently is what her dad does.
Yeah, which would drive the most sane person crazy.
Oh, I would have lost my shit on him just for showing up.
Right? Even though this time it's a much different deal because they actually got a hotel. Mm-hmm. They planned to get a hotel.
It's a really gross, crappy hotel, but there was a plan.
And to be fair, he had been calling her multiple times up into that, and she just didn't respond.
Also, to be fair, there's not a single person other than my parents who don't have a choice because they made me, that I would show up to their house after calling and then getting no response. I would be like, that is offensive.
Yeah.
To me.
Even I don't know that I would just show up at my parents' house without getting a response now.
I would. They don't get a choice in the matter. You're stuck with me. You brought this into existence. It's your fault.
If I did that to my parents, they would be like, "Are you okay?"
Oh, yeah, they would be concerned. They'd be like, "What are you doing in my fucking house?" And I'd be like, "You got spare bedrooms.
You guys have to drive considerably farther to get to your parental unit's houses
so
than
it's
I do."
concerning. It's concerning if I show up in the middle, like anytime, genuinely, with no warning. They'd be like, "Okay, so, like, how much trouble are you in?"
I mean, to be fair, when I've known that my parents are not in town and I'm like, I need something from their house, and then I just go and break into their house because the code
is not called breaking in if you have the key or the code.
I was gonna say,
or if you live in the Midwest and you're rural and you never lock the door.
Yeah, that's true. They do lock the door, but I have the code, and so I would go and break into their house and go do things, and then I'll get a text from my mom like 3 days later. Were you at the house? Maybe.
Don't worry about it.
Did you take something? Also,
Don't worry
maybe
about it.
No.
Which is not the dynamic that Daphne gets to have. Daphne is stuck with well, she has a great mom for all intents and purposes, although of course her mom is like, Daphne, you've kind of romanticized even what I do.
Yes.
Like there were moments that I was not living up to what I should have been doing as a mother, and I regret that. And Daphne's like, no, you did your best, you're amazing. And it's like, in an effort to make herself feel comfortable, she is like completely idolized her mom and made her the one person that matters in her life.
Well, her mom even says that there were times where I was simply running away and it affected you badly, and I'm sorry.
Well, the truth of the matter is, if you have a kid, you're going to fuck them up somehow. It's just the reality. A lot of parenting, and I admittedly am not a parent, but this is just my observation. A lot of parenting is just mitigating the amount of fucked upness that happens. Like, sorry, kid.
I think to Daphne's point, though, when you have a very clearly bad parent in her father who has left, who doesn't keep his promises and show up when he is supposed to show up, and when he does show up doesn't really pay attention to her. Like, she talks about going to the library with her dad, and her dad's spending the entire time flirting with the librarian when she's excited to show him like books that she found. So,
and as you find out later, the trips to the library were preempted because he would buy Daphne a book, but it would be like the third book in a fucking series that she hasn't read any of.
Yeah.
And so then her mom would be mad because now she has to buy her the first 2 books.
But when you have one parent that is distinctly the bad parent, you shift so hard the other way with the other parent because you're trying to, both your parents can't be bad because then that really fucking sucks.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and we get the example of what that is with Miles and Julia, because yes, their dad is not participating in the things that his mom is putting them through, right? But he is a bystander. He's not intervening. He's not doing anything to help. And what we end up finding out about why Julia shows up out of the blue is he gave his wife or ex. That's not clear whether or not they're still together.
I think they're still together.
I think they are. The location of where Julia works, and then was like surprised that she showed up and made this dramatic scene that ultimately ends up getting Julia fired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When that's clearly based, at least on what Miles talks about, her MO.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will say though, with Miles, I felt his guilt for Julia in my soul. Like that older kid energy of, I should have been there to protect you more, or I should have been there to take care of you more. I was like, woof, my guy, you gotta unpack that.
Yeah, you do. It's not, well, it was aggressive for her to pick the exact age range that I am with my sister. I was like, could you not? Okay.
Right?
Could you not? But like, I obviously did not leave my sister in a situation anything like what Julia gets left in. But like, I went off to college and then I went off to go work all over and I wasn't there for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I was like, could you shut up? Shh.
Yeah.
I don't need this kind of negativity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, older kids. I'm the baby.
But I also get Julia's perspective, which is that like, actually you did a lot more than a lot of other people would do. And you honestly should have left for your own mental health.
Right. Yeah. Because instead of going off to Colorado for college with his friends, he decided to stay in state and go to, because they're in Illinois, Chicago or somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And he came home every weekend, even if it was only for a couple of hours. And so they both have different perspectives on the situation, which is what happens all the time in real life. But they're also not talking about it.
Right.
Which is another key thing in this book, is the not talking about things.
I'm really good at that.
I know.
I really appreciated in this book how all the secondary characters had like fleshed out backstories and fleshed out, like there was all a significant reason for them to be a part of the story. They had their own things going on and you got to see those. Even some of her library patrons, even if we didn't get a ton of it, like she has the one like teenage girl that's her, she says it's the 2-person book club because they're talking about, you know, the books and everything, because she can't get her to communicate with anyone her own age. And then at the readathon she's talking to someone.
Yeah. And then the one I really liked is her dad, because we easily could have had the perspective of my dad wasn't around. Oh, and then he's just showing up as usual and he's here to interrupt my life and take advantage of things. But we get him talking about his perspective, which is telling these stories of these fun things they used to do together. And remember that time I took you to go fishing and you hated it? And she's like, I have no memory of this. And when he up and leaves, when he's supposed to stay, and then he just like leaves.
Because he met someone.
From his perspective, he's saying like, oh no, my daughter's totally fine. She's chill. She's totally fine if I have something going on and I just leave. And to Daphne, that's literally the worst thing he can do to her. So we get these like really intense moments, and not like intense like they're fighting, because that's not always what happens in real life.
Yeah.
It's kind of heartbreaking.
It really was.
It's very heartbreaking.
And I love that he went to confront her father.
Miles did drive all the way to confront her father after he fucked up a little bit, but
Yeah.
Well, okay. I do want to talk about that, because
yeah,
I really struggled with that part, and I almost like,
It's a very nuanced thing.
it is, but also I found it hard to for Daphne being such a like relatable or if not relatable, somebody I recognize character. In that moment, I just like had a hard time like getting into her rationale. Like, I understand abandonment issues through the roof, right? But also, like, until you know that the reason he's gone is to go help Petra, that reaction feels a little strong to me. Like, did he leave you in the lurch? Absolutely. Did he not text you? Absolutely. Would I be mad? Yeah. I'd be like, what the fuck was that about? But I'm also not being like, well, I don't know if this is going to work out because you fucked up one time. I don't know. I guess.
So for me, it's not so much that she goes from I don't know if, I think I'm in love with him to I don't think I can do this. What was actually very relatable to me is that Peter came back and is trying to get with her again, and he got into her head. And that's where I think is the relatable part of that moment, is he got into her head about Miles. They'll get back together, blah, blah, blah. Fucking, there's so much about that boy. I would just want to taint punch him. Sorry.
No. I was just going to say, I understand her reaction. Not as far as going to break up with Miles then, but I completely understand because it's not just abandonment, because what comes right along with abandonment issues is trust issues. And even though it's something so simple as he was supposed to pick me up from work and then just never showed, when you are abandoned over and over again and your trust is broken over and over again, you have no tolerance for it, even if it's something so simple and something that could easily be, talked through.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing about that too is it's not just that he didn't show up at the library and everything. It's that he was with Petra.
Well, he was with Petra and then doesn't come home until the next day.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, is there is a very weird thing that he's doing in which he's being shady and not talking to her and not being upfront with her. And that's when Peter comes in after he and Petra break up and goes, well, Miles is just going to get back together with her and you can come live with me instead.
It's like, I am not a consolation prize for you, asshat.
Right. Well, I think for me, the part that was that I think I should clarify that the part that I found hard to understand and relate to is that you have to have trusted him to a pretty strong degree to be that bothered by it.
True.
Like, and if you can have that level of trust built up, then it's shocking to me to flip 180 like that before you've even given him a chance to explain himself. Like, I can't imagine putting that much trust in somebody that quickly. That's not how my brain works.
Samesies.
But like, if you've gotten to the point where you feel like you should have been able to trust him not to get back with his ex, who he already told you he might get back with if the opportunity presented itself, I don't understand how you got to that point in that short amount of time.
Well, the other thing that Daphne has that's never really talked about in the book, well, it is talked about in the book, but it's not, this term isn't used. She has massive codependency issues.
Oh, yes.
And she just replaced Peter with Miles. And so it's basically as if the thing that happened that Peter did to her happened again.
And to the same woman, with the same woman.
Yeah.
I do really appreciate when she does have the conversation with Ashley.
Her best friend, Ashley?
Yeah. Ashley. Sorry, I lost her name in the compendium of my mind for a moment, and
but you didn't lose it. You had it.
I had it. I thought I doubted. I doubted strongly. When she does have the conversation with Ashley, and Ashley's like, well, you're a wee girl. And she has to kind of then go through the realization that she is very codependent and everything, and that she really has to learn how to step away from this and everything. And when they decide that they are going to be together and she is staying here and everything, one of the first things she does is move out.
And I think that was one of my favorite plot points.
Yes. I loved that. I was like, yes, learn how to be you before you're together with somebody again.
I think the other plot point I loved was the fact that Peter and Petra broke up. And it's not because I wanted them to break up because it's all vindictive or whatever. And it's not because it causes this conflict we were talking about. It's because it proves that both Miles and Daphne are not choosing each other as a second option.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, I also think when it comes to Daphne, she really does not understand the concept of hurt people.
Yeah.
And she really doesn't see what she does to other people. There's a lot of everything. I have this sort of like mental idea of what people are like. There's buckets and there's sponges, and both need water or love, right? But buckets are people who can reach down into their well and they can fill it up themselves. And sponges need people to give it to them. And the problem is when you are a person who is born a bucket, surrounded by sponges, you eventually become a sponge and you just cannot provide any more for anybody else. But you have also not learned how to soak it up from anybody else either. And that's where I feel like Daphne is at. She's at this point where she only knows how to get just enough to survive. She does not know how to appreciate what's in front of her, and she doesn't know how to not be longing for the last time she got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was deep, Wills.
It was deep.
Sorry.
Like a bucket.
Like the bucket.
Like the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
So while we're talking about like their conflict and then their kind of resolution between Daphne and Miles, the other plot point of all the plot points that I loved is when Daphne has her big realization that seems to happen to a lot of main characters, right? Like that big aha moment. I need to fix everything. She doesn't fix her relationship with Miles first. She fixes it with Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
And I also loved that because that is trying to break that cycle of like, oh, let me just latch on to whoever like this codependent person around me is. It's nope, I need to take care of me, and by taking care of me, I'm going to take care of this really close friend who's important to me and that I hurt.
Mm-hmm. I think the reason that for a while she hurt people around her without realizing she was doing it, I don't think she thought people cared enough about her that she could hurt them.
Oh, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that she hurt Ashley because she had made plans with her for Ashley's birthday, and that's not something Ashley does. She does not like her birthday. She doesn't want to do anything about it. And she's like, here's the thing. Let's not go out. You said your ex-husband wouldn't let you paint the house. Pick a color. We will come and paint your bedroom and watch Real Housewives, which quite frankly sounds like a fun afternoon for me. Not Real Housewives. We can pick a different trash TV, but like, you know what I mean? And she doesn't show up. And it's like, I think she just didn't think that people genuinely gave a shit about her enough so that she could hurt them. And then that also gets counteracted at the readathon when several volunteers come down with something and can't show up, and Ashley goes, I'll take care of that, you deal with the other fires. And all these people that she's met through Miles and through Ashley show up to volunteer for this readathon.
I don't know why you had to say things to hurt me there, but that's okay.
I'm sorry. Should I have talked quieter, my love?
Just keep that inside.
Well, and like Ashley's a perfect example of also like still needing to work through her trauma, right? Like
Yeah.
her reaction is as severe as it is because she's got issues. It seems like primarily stemming from Duke, but we don't know that. We just know that Duke didn't make it good.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I like if you're coming at it from two different places and you're not communicating, which no one in this book knows how to do.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. You know, if it's instead like, look, I'm sorry, I fucked up. I was dealing with some shit. I can tell you about it if you care, but otherwise just understand that I was not having a good fucking day, and I apologize that happened to be on your fucking birthday. And say, and you know, from Ashley's perspective, like, I'm sorry, you said you were gonna be here. What the fuck?
Yep.
Right? So like, instead of just having that conversation, they're as Daphne recognizes, eventually she starts performing her dad's behavior that she's been taught by him, which is if you fuck up, a grand gesture will fix it.
Yeah.
And it's like, most of the time people don't want that.
No, they just want to have the communication and be like, okay, I fucked up. I'm sorry. Can I make it up to you?
And then give it time, because
Right.
you can't fuck up and then the next day go, I'm sorry, let me explain, and then it's all better. It's like just need to let things heal over time.
Right.
I do like that the time did happen because mostly because they were, Daphne wasn't icing her out. Ashley was icing Daphne out. But she was letting it thaw a little bit. Let it come back in there, and then, okay, what do I do?
Well, sometimes also, even if you're not like actually gonna hold it against them long term, and you know that, you just like need to be angry for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, like, why the fuck did you do that? You didn't have to be like that. And now I'm still have all this energy that I don't know what to do with, and it's all directed at you. So
90% of the time when I lose my temper, it's because the person that has pissed me off won't leave me alone about it.
Oh, God.
That is a big pet peeve of mine. Oh, that makes me angry.
Don't poke that particular bear. It is not fun. And then I get to feel like a real big sasshole because I lost my ever-loving shit. I don't like it when I lose my temper.
People don't like it when I lose my temper either.
No, people don't like it when I lose my temper, but I also really don't like it.
Well, we also see that when Daphne's with her dad, right? Because I think even Miles brings it up to her of you want to still be mad at him, even though he's trying to be good before he leaves. He's doing really well. He's doing great. And Daphne isn't thawing to him because she's still got all of this anger.
Mm-hmm.
And on one hand, I agree with her a little bit at not thawing, because here's the thing. He proved her right once a fucking again.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was seeming like he was a better person and all of this, but he still fucking left without saying shit. Granted, she was real mad at him when he showed up and he was married and had no idea that it happened. That was a little bit her fault. He did write it in her birthday card. But also why are you putting that shit in a birthday card?
Exactly. Who tells your daughter that you're getting married in her birthday card?
Well, I guess if she's not answering her phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that I think's done really well in this, that there's enough nuance that you can kind of understand what the other person's perspective is, even if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Like, as much as Petra and Peter are the assholes, I understand how they got there.
Yeah. It is the very nuanced thing about this book is you don't I do overtly hate Peter. You don't overly hate most of the people. Even like her dad, I didn't hate him. Mm-hmm. But he was clearly a terrible father who thought he was great. And that's unfortunately kind of a reality in life.
Yeah.
Well, and what I really liked and enjoyed about this book is that the characters are complex in a way that feels real and not, this is clearly the bad guy. This is clearly the good guy. Like, we do definitely have people that we're rooting for more than anybody else, but they're human. At the end of the day, all of these people are human, making human choices, some of them good, some of them bad. And I just really liked that. I get bored when the characters are so cut and dry.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So back to Miles and Daphne. So when they do finally hook up, because we kind of like just skim past it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I noticed really quickly was that Miles was like, hey, I want all of everything. Thank you. And Daphne sort of just like doesn't even know. She's like, what to do? She's like, he's on my boobs. He's on my vagina. He's on my everything. Where do I even go? And so when she finally does get to like take charge for a little bit, I really enjoyed that. Blowjob scenes aren't my favorite, but I enjoyed it.
Same, actually.
Mm-hmm.
They're not usually my fave, but yeah, I liked that one.
Mm-hmm.
It also kind of gives you a little bit of a look into her and Peter's sexual life, because she had no idea. Like, it's not that she didn't know what she was doing. It was that she just wasn't used to somebody giving all of the attention.
Clearly.
And I'm like, oh, Peter, sir.
He feels to me like the type of person who has sex exactly one way.
Yeah.
And
it happens every Sunday night.
Yes. And it takes exactly 8 minutes.
And he has his socks on.
Oh, God.
Hopefully not. Hopefully she didn't have to endure that.
I just killed Liz and Wiggles on that one.
No, I'm just remembering a book where that was like a whole plot point, but...
Ew, why?
Well, I can't remember the book is called, but it's by Helen Hunter or Helen Hunting. And they're getting down and she's like, take your socks off, like every time.
No.
Yeah, no, thank you.
There's something about that that's really gross. And
I don't know why it icks me, but it does.
I'm in the same boat with you. It's no.
It's a no. It's a pass from me.
I'm glad it's just not my aversion to socks.
No, it's something weird about it. I can't put my finger on what exactly it is, but I don't like it at all.
Your reactions were fabulous to that, by the way.
Anyway, but like that whole scene was like really nice, especially having to wait for it as long.
Yeah.
We waited.
We waited. We've done our waiting. 12 years of it.
In Azkaban.
In Azkaban. Yeah, I did think there was going to be a bit more of a resurgence.
Yeah, I was a
Yeah.
little disappointed that it kind of didn't really happen again.
Yeah,
I wanted
I mean,
more.
like, we get bits and pieces, but we don't get, like...
we don't get the full shebang.
Yeah.
and
what we
that's
got was well written.
yeah.
I
That's
just wanted more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Although this book also feels like if you put too much spice in it, it loses a little bit of its charm.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I would agree with that.
You know,
And I'm a spice queen, and I would agree with that.
mm-hmm.
We got other things happening.
We got other things happening. We're really focused on the emotions. We're really focused on the trauma. You know, we got
So much
things
trauma.
to talk about. We got things to do.
So much found family situation
Oh,
happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love a found family? I feel like this book is not just found family or like figuring out who you are as a person. It feels very much like a second coming of age story. Like you get a second chance in a new place, in a new town with new
Yeah.
people that you don't know. I will say that is the appeal of moving across the country. No one fucking knows you there. You can be an entirely different person. Was I? No. But, you know, people didn't know that. All they knew was like, oh, that weird girl over there. I guess she wants to be friends, so I guess we'll accept this.
I get adopted by extroverts. That is how I make friends.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't make friends. Most people find me off-putting.
I find you delightful and always have.
Yeah, I mean, they're not wrong or right. I'm in between.
You're just pudding.
Yeah.
Huh,
You get it. You get it.
I think, though, bar none, my favorite thing about Miles and Daphne is the humor and the constant finding themselves awkwardly clothed. and the combination of the two together was real great. Like, I love when Daphne's snooping in his room and she like gets sort of like knocked into his TV when he comes in and he's like, "Are you stealing my TV?" She's like,
No, I knocked it over.
well,
Or when Ashley and Julia come over and they're like taking pictures of all of her wedding shit and they're like, "Put the wedding dress on," and then they fucking leave her.
yes.
Yes.
And Miles comes home and she's like stuck in her wedding dress
and panicking.
yeah.
Which would be me. Like,
Yeah.
it feels like that's the type of moment where you're like trying to get out of sports bra. and,
Oh.
and it's like sticking to you too much.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to panic, but you're panicking. You're panicking.
Yeah.
I have
Panicking.
fully cut a sports bra off because of that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fair.
Right? Like they just really they were hitting the points on that. Or like when she went to go get changed before they ate pizza and like put on her PJs, sans bra, but didn't dry off enough, and so like you can just see everything.
There was a lot of times where she changed into PJs when they were hanging out.
Yes.
And my head was like, but what kind of PJs? Because if you're just like wearing sweats and a ratty t-shirt, that's one thing. If you're wearing like cute little sleep shorts and like a little tank top, that's a different thing.
Well,
These bring
apparently
different things.
She's wearing silk pajamas like
Right?
some fancy bitch who's wearing a suit to work. Like, what?
Hey, I'm just saying, both of those things can be real sexy.
I didn't say they couldn't be. I'm just saying it's a different vibe.
It's a different vibe.
It's a different vibe.
Yeah.
And like Miles is just like always taking his shirt off, and I was like, yeah, you do.
Because he's all tatted up,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm here for.
I would run my tongue all over them.
Well, one character we really haven't touched on at all, who was entertaining as fuck, was Starfire.
Starfire was...
Like, she's chaos incarnate.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there was multiple times that it's not because she was trying to be malicious. It's not because she was trying to be mean, but she just 100% put her foot in her mouth, and I just wanted to kick her.
She gives me the willies. So like, she feels like the type of person who would like drag her nails down your arm, and you'd be like, ugh.
Yeah, she missed the point a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the plot point that a psychic told her that the plot of Titanic
Right.
Yeah.
was her former life, and she was like, yeah, that sounds legit.
Yeah.
My biggest ick moment for her was, "You can call me mom," and I'm like, "Fuck you."
Oh, yeah.
No.
No.
My response would have been, that that position's already taken.
I
she
don't
also
even think I would have done anything even as nice as that. I think I flat out would have just been like, no.
To be fair, it does get diminished a little bit when Miles is like, well, she's told me the same thing.
Right? She feels like the kind of well, in general, the kind of person that you would run into where you're like, I don't know why. Like, I should not like this human being, but I do. Yeah. And it's like a car crash. I can't look away.
Yeah.
But I love him.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Outright dislike for me for her, but like when she was like, you can call me mom, I was like, I'm gonna punch her. Like it was a visceral reaction for me. I literally was like, I like turned off the book for a minute. Like, no.
Well, there you go.
All right. I did not have that reaction.
It made me kind of irrationally mad. I literally like paused my book and was like, and you need to sit over there for a while.
Well, I think it's supposed to make you uncomfortable because the one thing we haven't talked about is the writing of this book is very good. Like the dialogue is good. The metaphors are good. One of my favorites is she was describing Daphne. I think she was getting all bubbly because of Miles. And she's like, I feel like somebody took a 2-liter thing of soda and tipped it upside down. And that's my insides. I was like, I really understand that.
Yep.
That feels accurate.
She was hitting the metaphors good, which was in stark contrast to the Shatter Me book that I was reading. It was like almost poetic in a way that made me uncomfortable.
Okay.
And so like the contrast was really strong for me. It was because like in Shatter Me, it's a first person narrative, where it's basically like her diary, and you're like, you've been trapped in a bunker for like 6 years. How do you even know these words? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so it was just like, oh man, I like these non-poetic analogies that just like are hitting the mark. I get what you're saying. Yeah. Well, I suppose it's time for ratings time.
Thank you for doing that every time. It does make me happy.
The jingle makes me smile every time now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A spice?
I liked the spice in this, and while it didn't get like spicy, it like was really good spice throughout. I really believed the like stop and start and the like awkward like we should stop, but I really don't want to. And when we keep going, you know, I got it. So I would give this a solid like 3.
Okay.
I was also going to go through for 3. The spice that we did get was well written. I really appreciated like the build up to stuff. Some of the like I was like, sir, ma'am, I think you just got me pregnant. And so I really appreciate that because not everything when we're doing a spice rating is about exactly the physical. It's the feelings behind it, I feel like, too, sometimes.
Well, when you bring the tension,
yes,
right, like that really impacts.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 2.5. And that's because when I read the spice scene, while I was ready for it, I then quickly got distracted because everything else mattered so much more to me.
Fair enough.
So,
okay, then.
There you go.
Romance.
I give it a 4. I liked their relationship a lot. They just need to work on their damn communication.
See, I'm hovering between a 3.5 and a 4. And I think I am going to go to a 4 as well. Mostly because I liked how their relationship it didn't end in the book, right? Like it keeps going, but how the book ended with their relationship. I thought it was really healthy for them to not live together.
Yes.
That was my favorite part of the entire book. I literally was like, yes!
I think I'm also going to go with a 4 because I really liked that they both recognized that some healing needed to happen, but that didn't mean that the feelings weren't there.
Yeah.
It didn't mean that they couldn't still care about each other, but they did need to change how they were approaching it. And
right.
That maturity is something that you really can only get from somebody who's like in their 30s or late 20s or older, you know what I mean? Like, and I did really enjoy that we had some mature characters, even if they did have some shit to work through.
Right. Well, that's part of the reason they have so much shit to work through.
Right.
Because Miles is 36 and Daphne's 33, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your overall rating?
For me, I kind of hovered between a 4 and a 4.5, and where I landed on a 4 was I liked a lot about this book. I really did, but it's not even like super tangible, but it just didn't have that like, oh my God, I really need to keep reading feeling that I get with a 4.5 or higher, where I'm like, yes, page turn, let's go. I sort of was like, yeah, I like it. You know what I mean? It was really good, and I recognize that it's a well-written book, but I really liked it. As about as good as I can give.
See, I'm going to give it 4.5 because I read this in like 3 sittings. Because I was just like, it wasn't one of those books where when I put it down, I was like, oh my God, I get back to it. But it was one of those books where as I was reading it, I kind of stopped caring about what was happening around me. I was just like, I'm living in this book, and that's so nice.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I'm going to agree with Wiggles with the 4. I really enjoyed the book. It just isn't quite enough to get me up to a 4.5.
That's where I'm at. Really good.
Absolutely.
Just didn't have that magical spark that pushes you further, you know?
Yeah, and it's so hard to define those books that are like when it's like, what's the difference between a 4, a 4.5, and a 5? And I'm like, you'll know it when you see it.
Yeah. It's a vibes thing.
Yeah.
It's a vibes thing.
Purely vibes.
Half my life is like, this is the vibes. It's fine.
That said, I might actually read the Emily Henry books that are on my physical TBR soon, because I did really like this.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Of the ones that you have, I've read Happy Place and Book Lovers. I would maybe go read Book Lovers first.
Okay.
Anyway.
So
what about some recommendations, friends?
Yeah, some recommendations. Don't make me go first.
Liz.
Okay. I feel like I could easily recommend another Emily Henry book, and Book Lovers is my favorite. Are these books similar? I guess they're both small townish, so you could go with that. And one in the mailman character in both of these is either from that small town or like very familiar with it. So Book Lovers. And then I would recommend Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey, which is the second book in the Bellinger sisters book. It Happened One Summer is the first one. That one is both friends to lovers, and they live together or they're stuck being roommates together for a short period of time. And there's a lot of complicated like, oh, but you're my brother-in-law's best friend, so we can't fuck things up. So yeah, that's what I recommend.
Go Wiggles.
So I have a lot of things that I feel like would be a really good fit, but I'm going to suggest one that is not as great a fit, except that it's got the vibes. And so my recommendation is purely based on vibes, because it just like, yes, there's the connection of the wine element, but that's about it. But the book Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey, I felt like they were in the same universe somehow. Obviously different authors, so that doesn't make a ton of sense, but it's just the vibes. The vibes are vibing. So that is my recommendation. I'm sorry that I stole your recommendation, Danny.
You're fine.
It is what it is. But if you want like a movie vibe of this, I do have a separate recommendation for that. So if you want just like this is sans the romance, right? But if you want the feeling that this book evokes, watch Matilda. Listen. Watch the original Matilda. It's got the vibes.
Yep. It does.
Vibes only recommendations.
I do love me some Matilda.
So.
All right. So my recommendation is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. It's got the friends to lovers situation. It also kind of has the fake dating element to a degree, and the recent ending of relationship as well.
And the, hey, let's be happy because we have to go to a wedding together.
Yep.
Where a stupid ex is doing stupid ex shit.
I will say that reading Funny Story really encourages me to read Just for Summer by Abby Jimenez, because that one also has like a interesting dating scenario.
Listen, I was sold with Part of Your World. I'm an Abby Jimenez fan for life because of that book.
Same.
I just fucking, it hit the marks. When I say that there's vibes, and that's like a 5-star vibe, that's a 5-star vibe book for me. And that's the difference. What tangible difference can I give you? None. I can't. It's vibes.
Vibes.
Moral of the story, follow the vibes.
Well, that's the end of the episode, folks. If you liked it, you can find us out there on the socials at Wrong Dust Jackets, primarily on TikTok and Instagram, but you can also find us on YouTube. And you can go to our website, wrongdustjackets.com, to find other episodes that we have coming up, as well as our blog post full of reviews of other books that we have not done podcast episodes for. And we would love it if whatever app you're listening on, if you could give us 5 stars or a like or a comment, whatever option is available to you, it would help me so much. It would make us so happy. And I would like it so much. So yeah, that's all I got, folks. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.